Welcome to the Confessions Podcast. I'm Cindy Wagman.
And I'm Jess Campbell. We're two former in-house nonprofit pros turned coaches and consultants to purpose-driven organizations.
After years of building up our separate six-figure businesses from scratch, we've thrown a lot of spaghetti at the wall and have lived to see what sticks.
We're on a mission to help other nonprofit coaches and consultants looking to start or scale their own businesses past the six-figure mark by pulling back the curtain.
Whether you're still working inside a nonprofit and thinking of one day going out on your own, or you've been running your consulting business for years, you understand that working with nonprofits is just different. We're giving you access to the business leaders who serve nonprofits as their clients. You know, the people who truly get it.
No more gatekeeping, no more secrets. This podcast is going to give you an inside look at what running a successful nonprofit coaching and consulting business looks like. Basically, we're asking people how much money they make, how they get paid, and what has and hasn't worked in their businesses.
Listen in as these leaders share their insights, their numbers, and the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to building a nonprofit coaching or consulting business. We're going to empower you to make the power moves that give you the income and freedom you set out to create from day one.
You ready? Let's go.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi, Jess. How's it going? We're back. We are
This
back.
time's something maybe a little controversial.
I know. I'm kind of excited. I like controversial conversations. So we're going to play for you all two confessions that we heard from our confessions booth at Icon in 2023. And then we will be back to talk about it. So take a listen.
Okay, juicy nonprofit consultant confession. Some people look really, really good on the internet, but their business is a total scam sham. Like, they have the Instagram, they have the website, but they don't have clients. And yet they purport themselves to be fundraising experts, but they haven't ever actually raised a dime. So be on the lookout for frauds and fraudsters, people who are taking advantage of DE&I, people who are like the namesakes and giving speeches everywhere.
This isn't so much about my business, but my confession is that just because a consultant is very good at self-promotion or Twitter does not mean that they are a good fundraising consultant. In fact, often those things can be inversely related.
Okay, so juicy stuff. I have like lots of mixed opinions, and kind of like it depends on this idea of like how you show up from a marketing perspective and how that ties back to the quality of work that you do.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen a lot of really successful consultants. Here's what I'll say. Before I say anything, you have to do good work, right? No one, I think, would challenge that assumption that if you want to be successful, you have to be good at your job. Doesn't matter how much you spend marketing or what your stuff looks like, your reputation becomes your number one marketing tool, hands down, right?
Right.
Like your referrals, all that kind of stuff. Like that is how you get known. But after that, like you get to choose, right?
Yeah.
Like if you don't want to market and you want to be low key, word of mouth is amazing and free, and you can be really, really successful.
Yeah, it works both ways, right?
Yeah. And also I like marketing and I like things to look good and be presented in a certain way aesthetically. And so that's also okay. And you don't necessarily need a big budget for it, but it's totally fun. Like for me, it's fun. I like.
Yeah, me too. I mean,
Yeah.
you and I are in the same boat. I think that the one place that gets a little tricky is when you go kind of like halvesy, right? Like when you are one kind of foot or halfway into the marketing thing and your marketing and your branding isn't consistent with maybe like your copy, or it's not
Yeah.
consistent with the quality of your work, then I think it can almost do a little bit of a disservice because it just doesn't make you seem as credible.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the stat right now? Like, you have less than 8 seconds to capture someone's attention.
Yeah.
And so if someone's just finding you online and like your website or your social channels are not aligned with maybe the word on the street or the referral that someone presented about
Yeah.
you, I think it's actually going to work against you a
Yeah.
bit. And there's things that you can do at a high level. Like, we should talk about one of the investments you recently just made, but there's also
Mhm.
things that you can do on a really like low key level. For example, hiring a graphic designer to do your
Totally.
logo versus like you trying to create something in Canva.
Yeah.
You know,
And like
there's things
you
that pay off.
yeah. If you have a good design, you can create a logo in Canva that looks great. Like you make it your name, no designs, just like good font, right? Like I think you can go very far on a shoestring budget, but to your point, do it consistently. I would rather see you not have a website than have one that looks like it's from 1988. Obviously, internet didn't exist then, but like what I was actually thinking is like 1998 when the screen used to load photos where it would like load
Yeah.
line by line. Like if you're going to do it well. And if you can't do it well on your own, then it is worth investing. And one of the early things I did invest in was brand photography, right?
Mm,
And now I spend a lot more money on that. I can talk about the evolution of my brand photography, but always people used to say to me like, "Oh, your brand really stands out." And so I had a clear sense of what I wanted things to look like, but at the beginning, I bootstrapped it. I created my own logo, picked my own colors, you know, all those kinds of things, and I had a family friend do my photos, um, and it was very inexpensive. I think I paid like 200 bucks. Another year, I worked with a nonprofit that worked with youth who were like who wanted to become photographers, and I hired someone from there to do again for like maybe 300 bucks. I think this past year I probably spent $3,000 on brand photos. Um, but I'm at that place where that's what like, I use them a lot,
mhm,
and it's aligned with where my business is. So,
mhm,
you can look good without spending a lot.
for sure.
And figuring out what is an investment in your business and your growth. So, for me, what you were alluding to before, I did something that made me very uncomfortable. And so I like public speaking, and I'm getting really clear on what I want to speak about and how it serves people. And part of my business growth goals is to do more speaking at conferences and all that. In order to do that, I need to be seen as a serious speaker,
Right.
which means I want quality video of me speaking.
Mhm.
So I hired a videographer and he
Yeah.
followed me to a conference and it felt really weird. But you know what? It was 100% worth it because now yeah, I'm doing this for the next few conferences I'm speaking at because I want that material. And the conferences, some of them provide it, but even if they do, it's not necessarily great.
Mm,
And this reflects me and my brand.
mhm.
So yeah, it's kind of a funny thing.
It is, and I love that you did that. I love that, like, you have a North Star, you're making the investments to get you to the places you wanna go. I will say the one exception I will say to, like, high quality videography and photos is something that I am being schooled on across social media, especially TikTok. There's data. I mean, it's just like the proof is in the pudding that the more authentic and
Yeah,
real you can be on social, the higher
the
performing
better.
it's going to be. So, if you
Totally.
are a business owner who uses Instagram, TikTok, especially. Um, like just pulling out your phone, face to cam, being super real, super like unpolished is
Yeah.
actually the kind of content that's performing way better
100%.
than the like shiny, glossy,
Yeah.
whatever things with like a lot of cuts, things that are fast, things that are short. And so that's the one exception. So I would say having high quality video and imagery that like lives on your website
Yes.
is way different than like what's on your TikTok feed or
Yeah.
your Instagram feed.
Exactly. And yeah, I would 100% agree that like authentic and even like, so I've gotten to a point where now my brand photography isn't just me, it's with my clients and stuff like that. And they're my
Mhm,
real clients and all
mhm,
of that. But I've found a photographer who is really good at capturing that authenticity.
mhm.
Um, and I don't typically, well, I'm not really doing much on TikTok these days, and Instagram, not really. So like my platform is mostly LinkedIn. I use photos in presentations on my website and materials. So you have to know the platform. And again, if I want to be booking speaking, I need a professional sizzle reel.
Mhm.
It shouldn't look like someone's phone. But
Totally.
if I'm posting a reel on Instagram, which I did today for the first time in a long time, that's shot on my phone. I just like it's uncut, it is what it is, and it's behind the scenes. So
Yes.
totally different things make sense in different arenas.
Mhm.
But you got to know what you want out of it and why you're doing it. And I don't think you need big marketing, but I think if you're gonna market, make it like to your point earlier, make it look decent.
Yeah. And I
People
think that like
remember.
what we're responding to in these kind of voice messages that we've heard is like there are people that maybe spend a little too much time or investment in their marketing. And at the end of the day, like we said at the top, like your work needs to like be able to stand on its
Yeah,
own with or without marketing.
yeah,
And then the next level is like deciding where and where you want to show up and how
yeah,
that presents to the people who aren't in your immediate circle, but the 2, 3, 4 degrees out who have no idea who you are, where you're from, what you do, like what's their first impression and what do you want that to be if you have less than 8 seconds to capture that?
yeah,
Um, because people just make decisions
yeah,
really, really, really quickly. And a lot of it is like based on these vanity things, unfortunately.
yeah,
And so, but you could be a business that's, like we said, super successful and doesn't do any marketing. And like,
yeah.
that's cool too.
That's cool. I know a lot of people who are super successful. One of the things that you and I've been talking about now, uh, planning for the new year is AFP Icon in Toronto in 2024 and booths. Like I'm doing another booth. We're not doing a confessions booth, sadly. Sorry. But I'm doing one for the fractional fundraising movement. And I could do a basic booth for like, you know, $4,000 all in. At the end of the day, it's probably going to cost me 15 grand,
Yeah.
but it's going to be kick ass. I don't want to give any teasers because I'm so
Yeah.
excited, but like, if I'm going to do it, I
Yeah.
want
And
it
you
to
do it
stand
well
out. I want it to be memorable.
for sure.
Is it a little bit extravagant? Yeah, but that's okay.
For sure.
Um, I feel like in that space, I need it to be, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, you will stand out above all the rest. And what's great is like you've already done the math. Like you already know what
Yeah.
you need to yield on the other side to make back that investment.
Yeah.
And you know, you
Yeah.
it's not like you haven't just like willy-nilly decided. Like you
Yeah.
this is calculated and it's strategic. Cindy
And
is nothing if not strategic, y'all. So it's like thought out.
but also like this is an instance where it's not just about the ROI in terms of cash. And I think that's important too. I've done a lot of marketing and advertising where I'm looking very specifically how much money did I make off of that spend?
Mhm.
And this actually, I'm making the decision. It's not just about how much money I'm making coming out of it, which I think I will make money. And I think I will make my network of fractional fundraisers who are there money for themselves, which is also really good. But I want this is gonna sound bad, but like I want fractional fundraising to be mine. Now, I don't
Mhm.
mean that in an exclusionary way. Obviously, there's so much room for other people to do this, but I want it to be like, oh, we need a fractional fundraiser. There's a network for that.
Yeah.
I want to become a fractional fundraiser. There's a really easy path for that. Like, I want to
You
lead
want to be the
the
Travis
space.
Kelce of fractional fundraising. You want to be put on the map.
I want to be on the map. And not just for my
You guys, I
personal
love how the
gain.
Canadian Cindy like has no idea what
I
I'm
don't know what
talking
you're
about.
talking
Oh my
about.
gosh, Cindy, what are we gonna do with you? Have you not been following this Taylor Swift, Travis
Oh,
Kelce?
is this her new
And
boyfriend?
how there's this joke where all these wives are recording their husbands and they're like, isn't it great that like Taylor Swift put this Travis Kelce guy on the map and
Oh,
all of these men become enraged because he's like a two-time Super Bowl champion and like probably the best whatever position he plays like in the league, and they're all getting so defensive
I
because
love
they're
that.
making this reference, but they're all like, isn't it great she like put him on the map?
I mean, I don't
So
think that's because I'm Canadian. I just think that's because like I'm not of the right age for like I appreciate Taylor Swift, but I don't listen to her. And my kids are not into Taylor Swift. So I don't know, but I know who she is. And I actually like her quite a bit.
I'm glad
And
you
I
know who
can
she is.
I know who she is. I knew she was seeing someone who was a footballer, if that's what they call them. I feel like that's more of like what British would say about like soccer, right? They're footballers. Anyways, clearly I know nothing about sports.
Oh, it was just really
um,
funny because in my household, my husband is like a ginormous sports fan, all sports. It's like all he does. He has all the fantasy leagues. He plays basketball twice a week. Like it's ever consuming. And as best he tries to convert me, I am like a hard line no, I'm not being converted. So it was really funny when I did the joke to him because it
he's
makes
like,
sense, right? Like
he'd
I
be
have no
so
idea what's
mad.
going on. He actually didn't. He was actually really kind. He was like, I mean, she is really popular in the music. He was like, but he is a two-time champion, but I know how you wouldn't know that, and I'm like, it's a joke. And he was like, you got me so good. And if you guys know Brad, which I hope everyone gets to meet Brad someday because he's wonderful, but like, yeah, he did not. Some men got enraged. They were
Yeah,
like literally pissed. And Brad wasn't like that at all. He was
no,
like, oh, how cute. She really doesn't know who she's talking
no. My husband would be like, who? Worse than me,
to.
worse than me. Okay,
We
that's
diverge.
such a tangent.
um,
Either way, yes. So to me, there is something about like market awearness that
yeah,
doesn't necessarily drive sales in the short term, but in the
yeah,
long term is a bigger play. That's
yes.
what we're talking about.
That's what we're saying here. And I mean, it would be interesting because we did together go really all in on our last icon booth. And because I don't have any of like the behind the scenes data of this podcast, people are like, oh, is listener up? Is listenership up? Like, I'm like, I don't know. I couldn't tell you how many people listen to this podcast ever. Like, I
um,
don't know because I don't have the numbers. That's all Cindy. So like,
I
we
don't
haven't
even
even
look that
measured that.
often
We
because
haven't
in
measured,
we
but my
haven't.
guess is yes, because people will anecdotally tell me
Yeah.
that they um, have heard us. And I will just say, from again being there, again, we talked about this in our icon recap episode, but like it really did just like put us on the map for the people in the room, the photos we were able to take. Like it just did so much for us.
Yeah.
And that would have been a very different story if we had like not gone all in, if we would have just had like a folding table kind of situation. So
Exactly. And
yeah.
like so interestingly, we did see a spike around Icon. in listenership, and things have been sort of progressively growing from there. So yeah, we definitely, and for both of us, I think there is a lot of long-term play. Like, we both acknowledge that, and we've talked about this on other episodes, there's some people who buy fast and some people who buy slow. And the podcast in and of itself, for us as a marketing tool, is not about selling fast, right?
No.
That is not why we do this. Most of you know, like, we don't actively pitch our products very often on here, unless we're super excited and just think it's like we need to share it. But really, this is long-term community building for us that leads to sales, but it also might not everyone's going to buy from us who listens, and that's also okay. So,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. Cool. All right.
So how are you marketing? What are you doing, especially as we kind of are presenting this as we turn the corner on a new year?
Yeah.
DM us, tell us what you're doing, or tell us like what you want to do, but maybe you're feeling a little apprehensive to do. And not that we have every answer, but we are creative and there's 100 different ways to make things look good. And I would just say again, like, at the end of the day, nothing is going to be able to market you the way testimonials and the things other people share about you, especially when you're not in the room. I just got to shout out Sarah Heshley. I got an email today from someone that she met at a conference, and Sarah whispered my name in a room when I wasn't there. And that's how this person came into my world. And she was just so nice and complimentary. And I just had to loop that back, because that's what really matters. And your work will stand,
Exactly.
should be able to stand alone with or without the marketing. But if you are ready to take it up a notch, we're big fans of doing that.
We are. But we like it. So it works for our business, right?
Yeah, sure.
Figure out what works for you in your business and go all in and share with us, as Jess said, what you are doing, what you like and don't like. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you again for listening to the Confessions podcast for nonprofit coaches and consultants. If you enjoyed today's episode, which I sure hope you did, you can show your support in one of 3 ways.
Number 1, post a screenshot of this episode to your Instagram stories or LinkedIn profile and tag Cindy and I so we can repost you.
Number 2, share this podcast with a fellow nonprofit coach or consultant.
And number 3, leave a positive review on Apple Podcasts so we can continue to grow and reach new listeners.
And of course, make sure you subscribe so you can get the latest and greatest interviews as they drop every Thursday.
And to our fellow nonprofit coaching and consulting friends, remember, we're an open book and here to answer your burning biz questions.
See you next time.